Hey there everyone, welcome back to another episode of All of Fabric 6. Just flying around the nether looking for a specific kind of structure. Oh, that was very easy to find. That guy over there. I did not think that would be so easy to find. Ooh. Because today we are going to take on the Nether Gauntlet from the Bosses of Mass Destruction mod. Let's just turn off this map. I don't really like having it up there in the corner. And yeah, just to prepare for this fight, I did craft up another one of these diamond netherite swords. This one's got looting on it, whereas this one has disarming on it, the one that makes them drop their armor. And seeing as we struggled so much against the Night Lich, I've also just got a bow and arrow and these things, which you probably remember. They bounce around and they eventually find their way back to you. That's just in case we need to do some range damage and we're struggling. So let's take it on. Oh, I did learn my lesson the hard way. I'm surprised nobody called me out on it in the comments. But yeah, it's so much easier to keep re-rolling this thing, the sword you want to upgrade, when it's diamonds. To make this other one, we went through a few stacks of netherite bars, whereas obviously you can just re-roll it when it's diamond, and you'll save on a bunch of resources. How are we doing in here? We'll buff our strength and maybe our speed, and just in case we need to remove some negative effects. There we are. Okay. I guess we just give it a right click? No. Right click. Will I get in trouble if I mine this stuff? Can't be mined. Do I really want to mine it? Yep, okay. That's the trick. That is a loud noise. I'm not too worried about this fight because I feel pretty strong after the last one, but they did buff this guy up in the recent updates. Yeah, we're good. We just got to wait till it comes for us. Maybe avoid the head-on. Our health is doing good. What's going on over there? Come on, man. There we go. Yeah, high five. Fist bump. Through the gauntlet. Really? It doesn't drop anything? Figured it would drop this stuff. Oh, did it leave this treasure chest behind? I think it might have. Yep, there it is. The blazing eye gets us creative flight within 7x7 column. Or increases explosion power. Yeah, they're not the ones we're interested in. And a couple of the ancient debris we may as well grab while we're down here. Alright, that was super duper easy. So easy in fact that I might just go and fight another one. Like this guy over here. And make the most of these potion effects that I've got set up. Now we've got a spare one in case we need it. A quick TP home. Before we get into farming, I have a suspicion that those particles that you see are because I think they're the hunger effect. I think I don't have enough kind of variation in food. So I'm hungry, therefore I'm losing my saturation quicker or something like that. Either way, just before we get to farming, I did just want to set up some recipes. Here they are, these things. I wanted to increase our production of advanced motors. These guys upgrade pipe speed by 32 items every 3 seconds. Let's, like if we stock up on these, and then you come and you put them in the actual pipe here, that bit there where it says network moved items, we'll be able to increase the number of items we move around the network, which is one way to make sure that things like these chests will be able to actually empty. I'm not 100% sure how they work, whether or not an upgrade here, like in this slot, if that means that all the items in the pipe network can move around faster or just the items coming from that chest. I'm hoping it's the former. This is stuff that can like accumulate while we're off doing other things around the farm. And the other thing that I want to start stockpiling is these upgrades, which you put in individual machines in this slot, and it means that the machine can overclock to a higher level. Like these guys are running pretty much non-stop. Overclocked at 4, so it's going 4 times speed, clearly not keeping up, and we make that with polyethylene and all that stuff that we already have. So I'll just set up some machines to make us some upgrades. And while we're off doing other stuff, we can develop a backlog. So next episode, maybe the one after, we can come back in and upgrade everything that needs upgrading. So each advanced upgrade overclocks the machine by 8 EU a tick. So I'm not sure how much these E and endo plates are responsible for stalling production, but we'll just chuck the first few in there and we can worry about clean up the rest later. So it turns out this is how you get the solar elytra boost thing to work. You need to equip the thing in your chest slot, not your elytra slot. And then it seems to give you a boost every now and then. So yeah, you hardly need rockets. But I'd also much more prefer to have my actual chest piece up there, so that's not going to happen. It does give you 4 armor, but you know, this gives way more. So, but yeah, for those curious, you just chuck it in your chest slot. We're going to keep ours in the elytra slot. So I just did a bit of decorating around. Up here, a little bit of terraforming. I am not the biggest fan of terraforming because I'm incredibly lazy, but I just kind of patched up this little area down here, planted some grass, which spread very quickly. And this is where we'll set up our little farm area. Quick update of the growth chamber. So I just mirrored it, just a proof of concept that you can actually share a wall. And we're done there, and we're done here. Yeah, and I put 64 of the mulch, these things, the Croptopia mulch, which gives you all the product, I think, of Croptopia fruit trees. And then 64 of the fertilizer for all the other kind of crops things into there. And this is what we got. Not bad, not a bad outcome. For the Hell's Kitchen quest, though, we only really need what I've got up here. There's a few things missing, like eggs and pork, whatever, but we already have thousands and thousands of those things. Probably way more than we'll ever need. So this is just the list of stuff that we want to automate. And I think what I'm going to do with this area here, I think what I want to do is an interface there. So the output of these two growth chambers can just get dumped right into the system. Now I realize there is another way, perhaps far easier way to get all the crops, and that is through this block called the market stall. But I don't really like working with villagers. Do it for the quest. This guy has access to nearly any seed you'll ever need. All these things here we could have just got from them, and it's so cheap. I wonder, can you get the saplings from them? No, you can't get the transformation saplings from them. Yeah, they don't have the tree of transformation sapling though, which is a relief. But as far as I'm concerned, that's a bit too cheaty. It's there if you need it though, and we'll collect it just for the quest. Yeah, so seeing as these are all the crops we're going to need, and I plan on tick accelerating them quite a bit. I think this space here might be good enough. We'll grow the crops out here in the sun, and then we dig into the wall for all the cooking. And all the seeds you can get just by crafting from the vegetable itself. Tomato seeds. So whatever we don't have, we can just convert from the fruits. But we should have all the seeds now that we did that thing with the growth chamber. And the way we're going to automate this is through the mechanical harvester from Create, which you connect to some kind of system on a contraption. It harvests the crop without pulling up the seed. Being a little bit cheaty here, but I think I might actually use MiniHUD just to help us set an overlay, which means I'm going to have to do a little bit more terraforming, unfortunately. Obviously, MiniHUD doesn't come installed with a pack, but if you didn't know, if you haven't seen it before, it does a bunch of things, like helps you draw basic shapes. But if I just like outline this circle here with these path blocks, this will give us a sense of where we can plant our crops when we turn that off. And then if we just fertilize all these blocks with some of the fertilizer from farming from blockheads. I haven't actually figured out what the quickest method is yet for crop output, but this is probably not a bad start. I think next episode we'll dig up underneath here and set up some of the mystical, and set up some of the mystical agriculture growth accelerators, which is like, they'll like tick accelerate all these blocks so the crops will grow even faster. Okay, I'm hoping this, maybe we'll make it a bit prettier later, but I'm hoping this will do the job. We've just got a windmill here. Yeah, but it turns it backwards. There we go. Flip it. The cool thing is, when you stop it, whoa, that snaps back to the first position. But I'm guessing because it's fertilized farmland, it doesn't actually destroy it, which is, I don't know. I didn't know that was a thing. But it seems to be, which is cool because I've made this machine in a previous season, and whenever you would stop it, it would always destroy the farmland below it. Maybe they just got changed in an update. I'm not sure. Yep, that's the thing. So what we want to do is get 2 of these portable storage interfaces. Like so. And whenever it passes here, we want it to connect to another storage another storage spot. All right, what I want with this is for it to go into an item vault. That's just going to sit back in here. I think you can store up to 100,000 items in this thing, so it should be good. Pretty healthy buffer. And then we can dig this area out to start cooking things. I am just noticing now that this crop here isn't getting touched. So we might have to just, I think, add 1 more onto there. Let's plant some crops then. And sugarcane's obviously like a special crop that needs to grow next to water. If we just put some water back here. If you don't know what a hose does, it's part of this traveler's backpack. You can fill up these 2 tanks here as long as you hold on to a hose. I've got a hotkey to Z, but if you just scroll through the hotkey, it goes from drink mode, suck mode, and spill mode. So I guess let's just start using that now when we need to get access to water. All right, well, somehow it looks like we have the magic number of sweet berries anyway, so let's not bother automating those. I think you'd probably have to use like a deployer like we have with our jade vines to just constantly keep poking at it to poke them off. But we only need 2,500. We've already got 2,600, so I'm going to call that a win. And tomatoes seem to plant just fine on the regular farmland, but not the fertilized stuff. So coffee beans, sugarcane, done. Cool. All we have left to worry about is raw beef and dates. Although, no, we don't, because we've got 28,000 raw beef in our system and 24,000 pork chops as well. Probably from running the cows through the revitalizer. So seeing as it's just dates they were waiting to cook up, why not just chuck it in there and let this thing do it for us? Do you not take it? Oh no, it doesn't seem to work like that. This thing's not triggering this machine to grow, so I guess you... Get out of here. So I guess the Croptopia trees don't grow in there. Well, there's no way that I'm going to do that manually, so I'll have to head back to the drawing board to figure out the solution to that one. But in the meantime, how good are these things? That's okay. So that's a watering can from Mystical Agriculture. But we've also got this netherite watering can, which is basically like a bone meal. As you can see what it did to all the grass around us. But if you stand here kind of just right-clicking on a water source block, it'll keep on replenishing it at the same time. So that's one way to make things speed up. Yikes. Yeah, but I guess be prepared to clean up after yourself. Now, I wonder what... Like, I want to have a look in there. I wonder if these things will do the job. So, they're called display boards. Don't want to make too much of a mess. So, if we give it rotational force and then connect it to this guy, we should be able to see the contents of the item vault there. Something like that. Thankfully, this thing doesn't take any stress, but it still needs a bit of rotation. We'll probably set this up properly with its own source of power generation once we get the farm up and running. But until then, let's just chuck that there. Okay. And then you get this thing here called a display link. You shift click it, target position selected. Okay. And then you just kind of hide it somewhere back here. Like that. I think that's what you do. Now the content should be showing up here. Not a display source. Ah, okay. Let's figure this out together. We've got these two blocks, the stockpile switch and then the content observer. And what you do, target that again, is you attach it to this thing. Then we can set some requirements here. Container fill level, percent or progress bar. 0%. 0% of what? What if we instead threw it on there? List matching items, buckets, millibuckets, start writing line 1. Or perhaps they need to be facing into the inventory. List matching items, line 1. Let's see what we got here. That's better. Yikes. That actually works. I'm going to get pushed here. Right. Well, I'm glad we figured out how to get that working. And what if just for now we would put a brass funnel on there with an attribute filter saying anything that's tagged as a seed to dispose of it. Like that. Because we really don't need to be holding on to all these seeds. All right. And that should clear up a bunch of space. An enormous amount of space. Ooh. Take that star. Cool. Glad that works. But now these things will just start accumulating slowly while we're off doing other stuff. Heaps of space, obviously, for all the other crops. And there are a lot of seeds in the game. So I'm sure in a couple episodes we'll have this whole farmland here filled up. And it's a little funny, but we're going to also need to automate date farming. Because we're going to need dates in order to get the sticky toffee pudding. Pretty sure? Yeah. So we need 2,500 dates. We just found out we can't put this thing in the growth chamber. So we're going to have to grow it manually. There's no more botany pots in the game, remember? And bizarrely, it grows on jungle wood, not date wood. And they're jungle leaves as well. Meaning, when you destroy the leaves, you get jungle saplings. One more time. When you grow the tree and farm it, you get jungle saplings. But you also get dates. So it looks like the solution would be to set up some kind of auto crafting recipe like this, to take the output of the drop, craft another sapling, give that to like a deployer to plant it, and then cut it down with a mechanical saw. Okay, so I wasn't actually planning on setting up these trees today, but seeing as we're here, we may as well give it a go. They've changed these deployers. Now the filter is on the top slot as opposed to the front face, which is good, I guess. For some reason, the update also broke our wither farm. I think whatever it is that Create's now doing in attack mode, I don't think it allows you to kind of phase through blocks anymore or something like that, because I wasn't able to attack the wither anymore in our farm. But we got 220 stars. It's probably more than we'll ever need anyway. So what we're going to do is we'll get the mechanical saw. I was hoping there was a way to have a setup where like the saw stays still and you just like plant a tree. And then if we glue those together maybe to kind of make it act like they're a pair. But you can kind of see the problem here. What happens is the items are dropping into the world, which I don't really want. Like we could set up a vacuum chest to suck everything up, but we'll find that all these kinds of things are just going to start cluttering up our inventory. So I think so I reckon the better way to do it is to actually push this back a block and then connect it to like a contraption. And these things will be spinning, planting trees, growing trees. And this guy will get pushed forward to chop it down. And when it's part of a contraption, just like this guy over here, it doesn't drop those items in the world, but it collects them into a chest or barrel that you stick to the top of it. So that's a much neater solution, and we can just kind of move those items around, just like we have with our crop farm. Yeah, let's see how we go with that. And I think the way we can control the contraption coming back and forth is with this gear shift here. So you give it a redstone signal and it reverses the direction that it was spinning in. So we'll have a sticky piston pushing the contraption forward to chop it down. And then once it's chopped down, we want to bring the contraption back. And maybe we go all vanilla with this. And like when something's moving, like these linear chassis here are shifting, they're not like kind of real blocks. They're just being rendered in. And then they snap back into being like real blocks when the contraption itself stops. Like for instance, right now, let's get a redstone lamp. You'll see this lamp will light up because the linear chassis there is like a block in the world. It's able to carry a redstone signal. But if this was moving, that signal wouldn't carry through and that lamp would turn off. So we can probably use this to instead grab a signal out of there when the contraption stopped, and then that flips a gear shift to start pushing it back in the same direction again. And I might actually prefer to do this the other way. Okay. So a signal's coming out. We can feed that into a gear shift. And tell it to reverse the direction that I was spinning in to this guy. That also just happens to be on this line, so we can feed this guy at the same time, which we can probably just reverse those two. So this will be the guy that plants. How about like that? Still a bit messy. All right. And then we just have to give this thing power. How's this looking? You chop it down. Oh. Let's see if we can clean this up. Oops. Yeah, I think what I forgot to do is glue all this stuff together. So you to you, you're all one contraption. And then we put that comparator back. Ugh, kind of clunky and really noisy. Let's see how that goes. So the tree grows. It gets chopped down. Nothing landed in the world. That was an old date. And all those logs and saplings and stuff should have got dumped into here. They did. And then what we'd have to do is set up some kind of automatic craft system to recraft saplings and then feed it back to this guy. Yeah, it destroys everything in one go, which is cool to see. Although sadly, it doesn't always drop a sapling. That's 2 trees now. We've only got the 1 sapling. Okay, it's not net positive. And as you can see, when the contraption's kind of like in movement like that, these 2 blocks here aren't kind of blocks in the world. Therefore, they're unable to carry over a redstone signal. But as soon as this is able to reach the full extent, like right now it's kind of stuck between blocks. Once this saw here is able to come over fully into this block here, these linear chassis will snap back into being regular blocks, the redstone signal will carry through, and that'll flip the gear telling it, hey, take them back the other way. You know, I didn't really want to make those kinds of create tree farms that you see everyone else make with the, you know, where it's like a contraption like this and it keeps spinning around, chopping down whatever tree that grows. I feel like that kind of design has been done to death. And while I don't claim to be the first person to have thought up something like this, it's my design and I'm happy with it. We can probably fully automate this thing later on, but for now we've got a barrel full of bone meal, a half full hopper of the date saplings. But we can let this do its thing, collect up all the dates that it can, and who knows, maybe by the time we come back it'll already be full. You'll notice that I've also, these rice crops now, I've actually buried them in water because the original rice crop, like when you just plant rice seeds and you grow them up, you know, you get back rice, that's great. But this guy here doesn't pick it up and I haven't been able to figure out why. It'll chop them down, just like that. So it should be in its inventory. But you'll see if we give this some power on, there's no rice in there. You're supposed to get the rice from Farmer's Delight as a drop from the crop that we just planted. Like that's what we got when we did it manually. But no rice comes in here. And I don't really know why it's not harvesting them as this Croptopia variant of the rice crop. But anyway, it harvests these panicles and you can just store the panicles. As you can see, we've got 112 of them now. And you can just store them as panicles. And then you can just a one-to-one craft to get the rice. Or you can cut and board it to get, additionally to get some straw. So I was planning on doing the Spectrum Ruin today, basically finishing off the Spectrum questline altogether. But a few of you urged me to push through a little bit more with MI and get into setting up liquids now, get it set up early so that we can start like making a stockpile of all those liquids. So we're not going to be running short at all when we need them. So today, let's just do a quick distillation tower and stockpile all the liquids that come out of that. And then if we have time, maybe even start processing some of them and we'll see where we can get. And next episode will be like about finishing off Spectrum altogether. I'll just assume that you're all sitting there nodding approvingly. So we're now officially in the late game. So let's just inch a little bit further. So the Distillation Tower. Currently, we've just been using distilleries here. And unfortunately, this is all going to have to move. And a distillery takes, that's correct. Yeah, the distillery takes the crude oil and can convert it into one thing. But a distillation chamber can take the oil and convert it into like all the available liquids that come out of that one product. Literally what I just said, man. change the height of distance, and you make this like that. So if you want to get, I guess this means if you want to get just one liquid output, you're going to have to use 16 clean stainless steel casings. All right, and one of those. If you want 2 out, it's this, and so on, all the way out to 9 out, I guess. But as we can see, the default crude oil you get has 3 outputs. Actually, I've spoiled it for you. Here's all the outputs that you get from processing these things just a little bit. It's like the crude oil comes in and gets you sulfuric light. Sulfuric light, you go through a chemical reactor with a bit of hydrogen and you get the light fuel. Light fuel, you crack it with steam, and then you feed that back into a distillation tower and you get these liquids. Similarly with the sulfuric heavy, you get steam cracked heavy and you get these ones. And then with the naphtha, who knows? Same deal, but you get even more. That means we're going to need 4 distillation towers. The first one to take the crude oil and break it into the 3 sulfuric variants. And then there's a little bit of processing of that stuff to get like the steam cracked light, the steam cracked heavy, and the steam cracked naphtha, which does unfortunately mean I think we're going to have to tear this roofing out here. And we got plenty of space up here on both sides to do all the liquid stuff. So yeah, I'll move those things up here. We'll clear out that floor, and then we'll get working on the distillation tower together. Okay, so we have moved most of these machines, a copy of them, up there to the 3rd floor. But I hesitate to turn these ones off just yet until we know for sure that we have enough to make the distillation towers. Also thrown down sodium batteries and the turbo machine casing, because we're going to need them to make the distillation tower. Yeah, the sodium battery, turbo machine casing needed for the turbo machine hull. That one, distillation tower. This one, achievement, that one. And to make one of these, we also need probably about 32 stainless steel and 3 of them. Whew. I'm glad we have the stainless steel plates. I just set up a barrel here to start accumulating them. All right, let's put down our first distillation tower. This guy. Okay, so that's a 1 level 1. If we put our wrench in our offhand, we can see, yeah. Aha, so while the distillery gives you 1 oil processing output, the distillation tower gives you 1 per layer. So the question is that 1 layer or is that 2 layers? I think that's 1 layer. Let's start off like this. And God, I really love these textures. Look how neat they are. Actually, I'm going to put that one back. Let's see, we want 3 fluids out. Can I do it like that? I think I probably can. And 1 fluid in. Oh, okay. It looks like you need to get in there and set the shape of the multi-block here. So we say, give us a 3 high one. Now it'll know to look for this thing, for this fluid hatch on these higher levels. So if you have that set to 1, which is the default one, yeah, it's not recognizing these 2 blocks here as valid. So it wouldn't be a valid one. And if you said 4, I think it's probably just going to ask us to build higher, yeah. So this one's a 3. Do I need to set I probably have to set the recipe for it. So we're getting crude oil in, and we want to get these 3 sulfurics out. Now we obviously have to power this damn thing. I'm actually going to be incredibly wasteful and move all this over a block. Oh God. You guys pretend you didn't see anything, please. Okay, and we're back. So that's our 3 fluids, but we need to get these from the sulfuric versions into the steam cracked versions. And you do that by chemical reactor with hydrogen, which gets rid of the sulfuric aspect of it, but it gives you sulfuric acid as a byproduct. And then you crack that with steam. And then if we have them automatically eject in the product that we want to keep, in this case like the naphtha, into another chemical reactor right next to it, mix that with steam, then we get our steam cracked, and that can be what goes into the distillations towers, to the distillation towers. And hydrogen I've just got from a sneaky little electrolyzer here, connected to a water tank. And we are going to have to trash that oxygen, just temporarily, just so I can keep on producing us the hydrogen. And yeah, let's just get processing this stuff in 3 more distillation towers. Unfortunately, we only have enough of this stainless steel stuff. This stuff, we're burning through it pretty quick, so I've got to let it accumulate first before I can finish off the rest of these towers. So while we're waiting for all these for the stainless steel to backlog, we can start looking at what to do with the output. Like this guy here already has a whole bunch of methane, benzene, butene, ethylene, etc., which is nice. The way we're going to store them is in these things called large tanks, which also lets you set the shape of it and things. Oh, that's cool. So you can just have nice tall ones, or a ridiculously large one, and it can store 64 buckets worth of fluid for every block in the structure, including the sides, with the default just looking like that. That's just a bit of glass and something. Steel machine casing? I think it may well be. It's cutting it real close. I might end up closing this gap here by bringing these guys one forward, because it's a bit unnecessary to have this empty gap. Just so we've got some more breathing space between this production line and the liquid tanks. I'll get rid of that. Got to kind of assume that they share walls. That's the hope, at least. So there's going to be 8 fluids coming out of these 3 distilleries altogether. If we can get them to share walls, we can kind of fit like some max height ones right here, 8 crammed up next to each other. I mean, every other MI multi-block seems to work that way, so yeah, guessing this one does too. I think we have it, and these aren't the biggest tanks. Let's hope that's good enough. And how are we going with this stuff? Okay, we can get a bit more of those things online. Something like this. Those colors kind of match these fluids. Let's get 7 more of them. And yeah, we should be able to put hatches for these tanks. Yeah, next to the glass. Right, now I have all these pipes beautifully, simply beautifully color-coded. Now I just look at things and say, we want benzene. Benzene comes in on this one. So we say, yes, please. Let it out. There it is. So now this guy is storing benzene, up to 4,000 buckets of it. And then we'd say, okay, what's the next one? Butadiene. Butadiene. Okay, my dear, we'll connect you up there and let you out. And now that's in there. So we just do the same for all of these. What a spaghetti nightmare. But if I can get to it, you can come out, and ethylene can come out. And perfect. And that's our naphtha one. I've just cleared up what was above here. Now it's no longer so messy, although ignore those 2 pipes. That's set up over there is what we just had over here. And that's all the liquids now online. Now we have all these liquids available whenever we need them. I was planning on hiding the cables, but you know that there is no hiding from spaghetti. So I thought, why not just embrace the beautiful colors and we'll bring them up right through the center of the build. We should be able to just check right here from the hatches. 70 or 4,000, 30 or 4,000. Yeah, that's cool. They all seem to be coming in just fine. So that's all the liquids that come in from processing the naphtha, the heavy and the light fuel. I'm sure there's going to be more liquids that we're going to have to store later. In fact, I'm probably standing on one right now. Soldering alloy. We've got some synthetic rubber over there, plus polyethylene, hydrogen, oxygen. Yeah, a whole bunch. So now that these are all connected to tanks, we can just chill for a bit, spend the next episode finishing off Spectrum, and when we come back, hopefully we'll have a whole bunch of liquids stored up here ready for processing. Oh yeah, and the observant amongst you might recall that this is where we had our coke ovens. Well, I just took them out and moved them downstairs to join the blast furnaces and that kind of stuff, but basically the big machines. So this is where they're all kind of working now, with room for growth if we need to. Oh yeah, I never actually got around to showing off the changes down here at the end of last episode. So just like with the distillation towers, these guys you can change their recipe this way to get between Cunthal and copper nickel. Because yeah, some things require this, recipes up to 128 EU a tick, whereas some things are fine with copper nickel. Oh yeah, I also, something a bit important to the factory, we've now got stainless steel, annealed copper, and this is the Cunthal, coming in through the vacuum freezers. And I've actually, rather than sending ingots out through the network, I'm packing them all up here into double ingots. Just so fewer items, literally half the number of items, have to pass through these pipes. And that's kind of a principle that I set up at the beginning of our factory and haven't been the best at sticking to it. Well, that's about all the time we have, I reckon. Thanks so much for sticking around. I hope it was very educational. Be sure to come back next time when we'll be finishing off Spectrum and hopefully not destroying our world while we're at it. All right, see you in the next one. Bye for now.